it is that time again. I'm Michelle.
And I'm Beth.
And this is Once More with Feelings.
It is. Mm-hmm. It is Once More with Feelings.
It really is.
We're having feelings right now.
Lots of feelings.
Mostly about the equipment.
Technical difficulties.
We watched, just before this,
Yes.
The Holiday.
Yes.
From 2006.
Yes.
And I've never seen this film before, but you have.
Many. I saw it when it first came out, but I don't think I didn't see it in the theaters. I definitely saw it on cable. I was living in Texas at the time. So I had small children in and out of the bedroom when I was trying to watch it. So I watched it. I didn't remember all of it, but I don't think I had only seen it the one time.
I think this film is okay if you miss pieces of it and then come back to it later, because it's okay. So Love Actually, great film.
Yes.
It is like a vested suit. Mm-hmm. It is complicated, but very neat. When you put it on, you look really sharp.
Okay.
The Holiday is like pajamas.
It's a comfy movie.
It's a bit of a mess.
It is a bit of a mess.
But you're going to feel great.
It's like how I'm dressed right now in my flannels and jeans, and I'm comfy, but I wouldn't go to a party dressed this way.
Right. But you feel good.
Yeah.
That's what The Holiday felt like to me. So let's just, I know I'm jumping ahead. The IMDb for this, because we always have that, because IMDb provides it, and it's free. Amanda lives in LA and is a movie trailer editor. Iris lives in Surrey and is a journalist. The two decide to swap houses for 2 weeks at Christmas, both trying to forget their troubled love lives until love finds them anyways.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun. Dun, 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 dun. Oh, that's the wrong movie.
Jaws.
That's Jaws. Although that comes into this film.
Yes.
So, with the shark attack.
So immediately with the little not so fun facts.
Oh, great.
Nothing in this movie took place in Surrey.
Are you serious?
Yes.
Okay, so I know how film production works. I understand the magic of Hollywood or the magic of production, and that it often doesn't take place in most locations that they say they're doing.
Yes.
But I wanted that cottage to be in Surrey.
I wanted that cottage to be in Surrey as well. And also, Cary Grant is not from Surrey either. And that is mentioned later on by one of the characters. He said that he met somebody from Surrey and it was Cary Grant. She even says, Kate Winslet's character even says, oh, yes, he is from Surrey. He is not. He is from Bristol, which is not in Surrey.
Is it Surrey adjacent?
I do not think so.
I think in England, if you are perhaps maybe 100 kilometers away, it's still considered part of.
He's from the UK, okay? We got that far.
And you would hardly ever know it because of the mid-Atlantic accent. Is that what it is? The Midwestern Atlantic? What is it?
I don't know. Honestly, I can't even think of Cary Grant's voice at the moment.
He had the same
That
accent as
Mid-Atlantic-
everyone else. Yes.
Yeah, that. Oh, like Katharine Hepburn?
Yes.
Yes.
I think that's instilled in everyone, is to have the...
That I wish I could do that accent. Of all the accents I can do, that's the one I can't. Well, I can't do a Scottish accent
I can break
either.
into it on occasion, but I have to have a very certain phrase.
And I've got to hear it first, and then I end up sounding more like Betty Boop than anything else. Betty Boop and Mae West combined, and without
That isn't that at all.
No, I know. That's what I'm saying. It's not good. That's what I was saying. It's not a good accent.
When I do it, I sound like I'm Australian. No,
that's even worse.
Yeah,
No.
that doesn't work at all.
That's like,
okay.
That's not even near it. Okay, so this is a Nancy Meyers movie.
Who did one of my favorite films.
Yes.
This is going to be indicative of Nancy Meyers throughout.
Okay.
Private Benjamin.
I didn't realize she did Private Benjamin.
Yes.
I wrote 3 movies down, and Private Benjamin was not one of those movies.
Which one did you have?
I have Something's Gotta Give.
Love that movie.
The Intern.
Don't know that one.
And Father of the Bride.
two movies I haven't seen.
Oh, you've never seen Father of the Bride?
No.
Okay, so
Is that the one with...
that's with Steve Martin.
Yeah, I never saw it.
So fun fact, Father of the Bride 2. The daughter is pregnant, and so is oh gosh, I forget who plays the mom. Diane Keaton, I think. Maybe I'm wrong. I'll look that up.
I never saw it, so I couldn't tell you.
It's been years, y'all. So, Father of the Bride, the mom is pregnant and the daughter is pregnant. So when I was pregnant with my oldest, my mom was also pregnant with my youngest sister. So we were always joking about being Father of the Bride too.
Oh, okay. I see
Yes.
where you're going.
There was the correlation. There was a correlation.
All of you were pregnant at the same time, and I'm trying to work out the logistics of everyone.
There was a correlation joke in there, but it wasn't a very good one.
So she did Private Benjamin. She didn't direct it. She wrote it. Or she co-wrote it.
Goldie Hawn was in that, right?
Yes.
In the original Private Benjamin?
And
yes.
This is about a woman who is trying to find herself. This is very indicative of Nancy Meyers in that a woman goes through breakup, heartache, and then tries to find her way, but does it in the weirdest way possible. We'll go over Private Benjamin at some point because it was a great movie.
Yeah, it's a good movie.
Finding your power again.
Yes.
That's what she's about.
And that's kind of really what this is about as well. So in this story, we have Cameron Diaz, who plays Amanda, who is she owns a film trailer company. And we have Kate Winslet, who is a columnist who seems to do like wedding venue type of columns in England. And Cameron Diaz's character, Amanda, is breaking up with her boyfriend who cheated on her. Kate Winslet's character, Iris, is in love with Rufus Sewell's character, Jasper. And it is an unrequited love. She loves him. Oh my God, Jasper's a dick. Now, if you know...
I have this written down. Jasper is a twat.
Okay, I have Jasper piece of shit.
He's a twat piece of shit.
So...
I want to punch him in his high cheekbones.
So Rufus Sewell, actually, he plays like really good bad guys. But one of my favorite roles is he was in Shakespeare Retold. And he played Petruchio to Shirley Henderson's Shrew in Taming of the Shrew. And I know the dynamics, and I can't even, they don't really have chemistry, but also it was really good. And if you ever want to just enjoy the heck out of literally retelling of Shakespeare, watch them. I think there's 3 of them. And it's, I know they do Midsummer Night's Dream. It's really good. Just trust me. But Rufus was also in A Knight's Tale.
Yes.
And once again, he was the bad guy.
And there's other people in this movie
that were in
A Knight's Tale.
Yes. So then Iris, Kate Winslet's character.
Iris Simpkins.
She's in love with Jasper, and Jasper announces at this Christmas party that he is marrying someone else after he tried to get her to come home with him.
While he's been saying he loves her and has been dating her, has been having presumably sex with her,
yes,
leading her on over and over again, and then they work together and surprises her by her editor saying that she's going to cover
a very prestigious wedding.
One of their own.
And it was his wedding. And that's a blow. That is you could just see it on her face. And honestly, Kate Winslet is awesome. And you can just see the heartbreak in the crumbling of her soul.
You can really feel the Nancy Meyers in the moment because Nancy has either gone through something like this or thinks about something like this, and it just breaks your heart. I
was tempted to read the monologue in the beginning that Kate Winslet reads, or that she says, the narration in the beginning.
Yeah, there's always a voiceover.
It's a beautiful voiceover about love and the different types of love. And I just really, I really liked it. I really liked the different avenues. And yeah, it's just really well written. But so she goes, she's heartbroken, and Cameron Diaz kicks her boyfriend out. Amanda kicks Ethan out because he's cheating on her. And
well, they have a big fight about it. And the whole point is she keeps saying, just tell me you slept with her.
And he did.
And he doesn't say it through most of the fight until the very end when he's outside. And then he says it. And then she punches him twice.
Yes.
And I really like that about Cameron.
And the big thing about Amanda is
Amanda, yes.
Yeah, she's very high strung. Well, the thing is we had an issue in the beginning when we were watching it because Beth said to me, is she playing a character or is she playing Cameron Diaz? Because Amanda, the character, is very neurotic and high strung, and it was really hard to see what the acting was or if this is just...
Okay, I am absolutely not calling Cameron Diaz high-strung or neurotic. Mainly because I don't want her to fly here and stab me. No. No, I don't think that's the case. When I was asking that, I'm like, is this the character as it was intended?
And it was.
Or is it Cameron Diaz not warming into the role?
Okay, I see that now. And it was intended. Her character is supposed to be neurotic, on edge, definitely needs a vacation. And the one thing she says, and this is important, is that she can't cry. And you will find out later on, it's because when her parents separated when she was 15, she was blindsided. And when her dad moved out, she cried, but never cried again.
And that was the last time.
That was the last time she cried.
Importantly, she says that she noticed the packed suitcase.
Yes.
And throughout this movie, she's dealing with suitcases.
That is true.
Also, she packed up all of her boyfriend's stuff and pushed him out the door, which is something she has done with previous boyfriends, according to him, during the fight.
Yes.
So this is an ongoing situation. I understand that. And I'm going to kind of jump to a private life kind of thing. With my first wife, she had a thing of always having like a night bag packed. It was something she always had. She always had a night bag packed. I have abandonment issues from my childhood. So for someone who you're getting married to always have a bag packed, always makes you feel like they have one foot out the door.
Ah.
So I get her issues with this. That was a dog bark. We're not going to edit that. She barks.
She barks.
It happens.
Yes.
I'll edit the big ones, not the little ones.
Yeah. She's a jerk.
No,
she's not.
She's
the good girl. It's the high-pitched bark. That's the one that's the jerk.
No, she's a good puppy too.
No, she's not.
She's my good puppy. So I can see why Amanda has those issues.
Yes. She's definitely, and then she has that esophageal, the spasming. It's a pain in her chest.
It is a panic attack.
It's a panic attack. But what's odd, or what's not funny either, it's not odd, it's not funny. The reason why Nancy Meyers put it in there is because she had them in her early career.
Yeah, you can tell.
Yeah, that
Nancy
was definitely...
is writing I've got a note here that I feel she uses the women's lead roles as a sounding board for her own emotional states.
Oh, no, I fully
agree. I think
agree.
that is a fair and very obvious assessment.
Oh, no, totally.
And it makes me want to invite Nancy Meyers over for a bottle of wine so that we can all kind of just hang out together, because I feel bad for her, even though she is completely famous and would never hang out with us.
So Jack Black is Miles. Who
is adorable in this film.
Baby Jack Black.
Baby Jack Black is the cutest Jack Black ever, and he's already cute as it is.
And he plays Miles, he worked with Amanda's ex-boyfriend Ethan, and he comes into the movie in a little bit,
he's a film composer.
Yes. So we've established that Cameron Diaz's character and Kate Winslet's character are basically done. And they decide to go on a website.
Iris had already put her cottage onto a page, I guess, months ago or years ago. And it's always been there for trading your homes.
And this is a real website, people. I'm not going to give out the website because I don't know if it's still a website. But at the time...
And we're not getting paid to promote it.
Yeah, exactly. So, and I'm going to come back to that website in a minute. But Cameron Diaz finds her cottage, the Rose Hill cottage, right?
Right.
On this website, and she contacts Iris to see if it's still available, but it's for a house swapping thing. So Kate Winslet's like, you know what? I could use a vacay. I need to get away from all of this bull. And so they decide to switch homes for the holiday. And Amanda flies to the UK and Iris flies to LA. Now, here's another little factoid. The house swapping, like I said, that website was real. I don't know if it still is. Again, wasn't going to get into that one. But the police in England actually warned against it because after this movie came out, a lot of people started house swapping. And it sounds like you're going to go to some other country or whatever, and you're going to swap houses and you will find your true love. But what was happening is identity fraud and murder. So, needless to say, they were really trying to get people to not swap houses.
Yeah, it already sounded risky when they did it in the movie.
Oh, yeah.
As it was written, I was like, what, are you crazy?
And this is before Airbnb and, all the other places.
Yeah, but it's not before Guile, which is,
God,
someone's
yeah.
going to lie to you and tell you, I have a big house, and then you show up and it's an apartment somewhere in a back alley and they stab you to death.
Yeah, well. So, really quick, some of the other actors in this movie. Eli Wallach, who was 90 when he did this movie. He did live on for another 8 years before he passed away at 98. He's known for The Magnificent Seven and
The good,
the bad,
and the ugly.
Yes. And it's funny because there's a line that he gives because his character's name is Arthur, and he is was he a writer? I feel like
he was a screenwriter.
He was a screenwriter
yes.
in the movie, and so he makes a comment early on to Iris about I haven't been. She asks him if he's busy, and he's like, I haven't been this busy since 1978. In 1978, Eli Wallach had 6 movies come out. So a lot of the references that they make in this have actually references to things that have actually happened either in real life or in real movies.
An homage to his actual career.
Yes.
That's nice.
Also, when Iris first comes to LA and she sees that wall in Amanda's home with all the movie posters, one of them is for The Enigma, which Kate Winslet was in.
Yeah.
So that was funny.
That's funny because it's calling back to her own career.
So again, she does movie trailers. And the thing about Amanda that you have to understand, because there was a couple times we were watching this and I'm like, did we put on the commercial version? It's not commercials. Amanda has flashes in her mind of movie trailers. Her life as movie trailers.
So
with a voiceover and everything.
Even though it was confusing for me at first because I have never seen it displayed on screen like that, I kind of get that because, and I don't think they wrote it this way for her, but because when you are autistic, some of us see those types of things. We are playing those things in our head because you don't get to just think about something that happened in the past. You get to completely relive it.
I also want to, I want to say that this was really one of the first movies that I remember people being referred to with main character energy. So we have this thing in modern society where, especially with young people, and as an educator, I see this a lot. They have main character energy or main character mentality or thought process. They are the main character in a story that only they know. And it's hard for them to understand that either other people exist or other people have feelings because other people are ancillary characters. And that's not necessarily what they were going for in this movie. But when Arthur says to Iris that she's the main character, but she's playing a secondary role.
Yes.
I feel like that was the first time I'd ever heard that reference. And because I was looking at it from the way he actually meant it and not the way it would be perceived now.
Well, the way it's misused now is
Yes.
that instead of being ignorant of other people's feelings and their trials, it's without empathy for them.
Yeah.
That is not the case in this movie. This is what I guess Nancy or the writers are trying to get across in this. is that you are important. You are important, not just to your own story, but you're important to the people around you.
Yes.
But you're acting as if you're not important. And that is something that I think many of us, especially, Gen X, tend to be latchkey generations, which is more than Gen X. We have
definitely.
Millennials, they're latchkey as well.
Oh, yeah.
We did kind of pass down the trauma of our youth onto the next generations.
Unfortunately, we have. But, again, it's that whole, we are, again, I have main character, in my head. Like, I am definitely the main character in the story that only I am privy to. But that's just how I've been able to survive a lot of times.
That's how anyone is.
But I try not to make sure that the ancillary characters in my story are treated poorly. And unfortunately, that's where a lot of the younger ones tend to forget. And when I'm saying younger ones, I'm talking about the kids in school now, because again, that's what I experienced.
Yeah, children. Not younger ones, but children.
Yeah. So the house that Arthur lives in, that was actually Phyllis Diller's home.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Okay. The entrance there and everything. That's
that
cool.
was her house in I can't think of the name
Phyllis
of it.
Phyllis Diller was a comedian.
She was a comedian.
And she was on The Tonight Show many times.
Yes.
A lot of people are not going to know her if you're younger than us. She did pass away, but she did, what did Phyllis Diller other than...
Hollywood Squares.
Oh, yeah, she did Hollywood Squares. Yeah, that's right.
If you don't know who Phyllis Diller is, really you should look her up because... You know who she, what was it? Madam? Remember the guy who had the puppet, Madam?
Yes,
that
was her.
That was Phyllis Diller. I mean, it wasn't her doing the puppet, but that characterization was
on her.
Yeah. She was loud. She was brash. She was ahead of her time when it came to her. I don't know if she was a feminist, but she had strong...
She had no fucks to give.
Exactly. Not a fuck in the bunch.
And there's our explicit rating.
Hey, we were already cursing earlier. But yeah, so Phyllis Diller, that was her house. No,
I have it preset to explicit, so we're fine. I'm just saying.
I know, I'm just saying.
I'm making sure we hit it every time.
Oh, okay. So, our prerequisite.
I don't want to mark it explicit and not actually do explicit, because then we're just not living up to our standards.
I will use an F-bomb as soon as I can.
Truthfully, I'm the one that's been using them. So
two other actors that appear in this movie that I feel are a note, even if they are only on screen for less than 5 minutes, and that is a young Jim Halpert. And
Season 3 Jim Halpert.
Season 3 Jim Halpert with the little swooshy hair. John Krasinski, and depending on where you want to go, either Jennifer Barkley or Agatha Harkness. Catherine Hahn was in there, so...
I just want to state,
was she pregnant?
It's actually probably season 2 Jim Halpert, because it was 2006.
2. Yeah, so
is when it was released, so they had to have done it the year before. So
yeah,
season 2 Jim Halpert.
And did Catherine Hahn look pregnant? Like, for one scene, I thought she was pregnant.
I mean, I don't know if she was pregnant. I don't want to make that assumption.
No, it was hard. I really thought there was a baby belly, but then she was straight on the camera, and I didn't.
She may have been. She looked.
It wouldn't have mattered because she was only
now,
in
but
the...
it's not a...
No, it wasn't about thickness. It was like she literally had like a little basketball belly.
I didn't notice that.
But maybe it was just the way the camera looked when I looked up.
She was on the screen for all of 5 seconds.
Literally all. I mean, you blink and you miss her and him. But they play Ben and Bristol, who work for Amanda.
But they're also co-conspirators in, not co-conspirators, but
they kind of
they both play in the same universe in TV.
Oh yeah,
being in The Office, and then
Parks and Rec, which is
for her being in Parks and Rec.
But also she's Agatha Harkness, which trumps everything.
Sure, we can,
because it was Agatha all along. It's so bad because even when we watch Brooklyn Nine-Nine and she's Boyle's ex-wife, I'm like, oh, Agatha, you were slumming it, weren't you?
Okay, so I don't want to... We're kind of
we're going
around
off
here, but Jude Law?
I know.
Graham?
So Graham, I was going to get back
I'm going to say Simpkins.
Yes, because he is Iris's older brother.
Which, I'm not sure if that means that there are more brothers to be had, but you never see them, so... I'm assuming it's just the older brother.
Yes.
The brother.
The brother. So, so the ladies switch houses. And within minutes of being there, Graham shows up. Well, not minutes. I mean, basically, the limo driver. So...
Oh, this guy is such a prat.
Okay, so when Amanda gets to England, she's not dealing well at all, and he stops the limo and he's like, "We're here," and it's next to a cemetery and on a cottage road, and he's like, "Oh, I'm not gonna be able to get the limo up that road," and she's like, "Can you try?" And next thing you know, she's lugging her luggage up this cottage road in a pair of high heels and snow.
And this is not a stretch limo. This is just a regular limo. Yeah.
But later on in the movie, that son of a bitch is literally parked in front of the cottage.
Yeah.
And tries to go back up the road.
Yes, he goes back and forth. So suddenly it's not an issue.
Yeah, where it was an issue before. He was being a jerk to the American. Because he could.
I would say so.
And Kate Winslet, when she is at Amanda's house, she runs through, because it's this massive mansion in LA, and she's just giddy with every room.
Oh, yeah, she runs from room to room looking at everything.
She dives on that bed, and it is hysterical how she dives on the bed.
So there is something that I know about Nancy Meyers from watching her previous movies, is that many of the movies that she has, the lead characters usually have these wondrous kitchens. And that is no different here with Amanda's kitchen. Is bigger than the cottage that Iris owns.
Oh, yeah.
And even the cottage kitchen is adorable.
Oh, it is.
Small but adorable.
That whole cottage, we both agree that we would live there in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Because it is adorable.
I would take that cottage, yes. Absolutely.
But, yeah, I don't think that Amanda was too thrilled about it, because she did come from this very stark, very sterile LA home to, this has rock walls inside the bathroom, and it's adorable, and there's a cow.
I think it's getting used to the difference in, but that's something I noticed. There was a bit of,
it was to impress the culture shock, I think.
But there wasn't an equal culture shock.
No.
Because Iris
adapted very fast.
Was overjoyed and just adapted into everything. Whereas they show Amanda not being able to drive on the roads as if British people, and I have worked with British people in my line of industry, and they have trouble figuring out how to drive on our roads.
Yeah.
We have different street signs. We have different laws. We have different directions, everything.
No, it was definitely biased towards the American side, where anything that was American was going to be a bit more easy, where the culture shock for Amanda in the UK was definitely harder. Almost to say, I don't even know what to say on that one. It just did not.
Well, something I found interesting, if I may, is that these are the differences between the two at a same economic level.
Oh,
they
definitely.
are not poor.
No.
You don't own a cottage in England with land and be poor unless you inherited it.
Yeah.
And that she is a writer for a newspaper, but her family is attached to publishing industry. Her brother's rich. He's an editor. They all have these very high-end jobs. Amanda owns a company in LA. So there's an equity in their income, but there's a difference in what they view as, per the different cultures, as what they view as worth the money. So for Amanda, her home, that stark, huge home that I bet she hasn't seen 6 of those rooms
but it's
in
the
her
prestige
life.
of owning it to be a part of the LA
And it
culture.
may be that she feels very comfortable there. But she has people working in there in the yard. She has people working inside the room or inside the rooms. So she has people who are not servants necessarily, but they are there hired help. And Iris, who probably pays about the same, has a cottage in England where space is the priority. Space is the thing that costs.
Yes.
Whereas in LA, well, yes, space does cost, but we're talking about the building materials.
The maintaining of it.
Yeah, the maintenance. We're talking about location.
Oh, yeah. And you can tell that Iris's garden is overgrown. So you know that in the spring it's got to be beautiful with color and she just has it just wild, like a wild cottage garden. But right now it's winter time, so it's just wild.
Right. And I was thinking that too, is like they let it go wild because it's going to be winter.
Yeah.
And when winter goes away, then they work like mad to get it back into shape just before winter again.
Yeah. And honestly, I like thinking of is how similar it looks to our yard right now. We are not doing it for any real reason, just lazy. But yeah,
we're saying it's for the witch aesthetic.
Oh yeah, for the witch aesthetic. That's what works. It is definitely. I would live in that cottage in a heartbeat. But
same.
So again, shortly after Kate Winslet is there, Miles comes with his girlfriend, and because he works with Ethan, and he was picking something up, and they introduce themselves and.
The Santa Ana wind.
And Santa Ana wind. She has something in her eye because of the wind.
And they do this little cute thing where he gets the piece of
whatever it
is out of her eye, and they're very close to each other talking.
Yes.
And all I can think is, you need to just go ahead and start dating him now so you have more time.
Exactly.
But he's got
a girlfriend in his
car. Girl who is the other actor.
Yes.
Who was in
A Knight's Tale.
A Knight's Tale.
And it was the princess.
She was the princess. I can't remember her name.
Me either.
But you can look it up.
Yes. But meanwhile, Amanda she poorly drives into town, goes shopping, drinking wine in the shop, and gets back to the house with the dog, which I don't remember the dog. You even mentioned that too. The dog was mentioned in I don't remember.
The dog was never introduced.
Might have just not paid attention.
She never even encountered the dog when she first went through the place. And this is something in the movie I've noticed. No one closes a bloody door in this movie.
God.
They open the door and they just leave it open. I'm like,
Gates,
why would you just
doors?
Yeah, the cows are going to get out. You're just going to let everything into your house. The dog out of the house, which the dog didn't appear in this film until midway through.
And I don't remember him being there when
Iris
was there.
I don't know, but I know that Amanda did not introduce herself to the dog.
I know. So we don't even know what the dog's name is.
And they seem to be okay with it.
And I don't like that we don't know what the dog's name is. The dog starts barking that night, and she goes and opens the door, and there's a man. It's a man.
A man.
And it's Jude Law, so it's a man.
Oh my Lord.
And yes, so that's Graham, and that is the
inebriated
Graham, who was at a pub, and he always crashes at his sister's house. And somehow, in the span of however long he was there with Amanda,
it was 10 minutes.
They were upstairs having sex in in his sister's bed.
I have to say,
ew.
If you have two people that look like they do,
I mean, yes,
they're not having sex.
I mean,
something's a little wrong.
Yeah, well, Sophie said it perfectly. She looks like a Barbie doll.
Yeah, but Cameron Diaz she's pretty, but she doesn't look plastic. She looks like a real person.
But again, it was, I get it. So the next morning, his phone rings. They're having an awkward moment in the morning. His phone rings, and she picks it up and hands it to him, and she sees the name Sophie. Which
you can tell she has issues because she keeps looking at his phone to see who's calling.
Yep.
And they just slept together. It's like they have a relationship.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, yes, definitely. And then, nothing gets mentioned about Sophie. And he's like, I'll call her later. So, again, it keeps bouncing back and forth between the two ladies. And Iris is out driving, and she sees an older gentleman walking. And he had his little walker with him, right?
Right, and he
She
had
thought
a
he was
nurse.
lost.
He had a nurse with him before.
Yes.
She noticed him passing the gate before.
Yes.
Iris settles in so well that she knows everyone's name.
Oh my goodness, she does. She's out there talking to the gardener, and she just walks.
The mailman.
Yeah,
she just
settles in and
Right.
is so personable to everybody. But she meets Arthur and helps get him home, and she finds out about that he's this writer or screenwriter.
Yes.
But he tells her about a meet cute. He says, "Is this our meet cute?" And the cute thing about that is his example of a meet cute is two people wanting to buy a pair of pajamas, and they go into
One
a
wants a
shop.
top, one's a bottom.
Yes. And they're, oh, well.
I know this movie, but go ahead.
Yes. So the example that he gives is actually from the movie Bluebeard's Eighth Wife, which is from 1938 with Claudette Colbert and Gary Cooper.
It's a famous scene.
Yeah, so I just think it's funny that that's what he used for his meet cute
Yeah.
example.
Yeah, I was stoked when he was describing. I'm like, he just described an actual movie. That's funny.
I know, and it's really it's what I love about this movie is it does have a lot of throwbacks and a lot of mentions. We'll get to another one later on with Miles and Iris that I think is funny. There's a few of them, and then there's a few other like standout cameos. Well, the one we'll get to later, but the one. So again, remember that Amanda is a film trailer. She creates film trailers, and the one she's working on right now is, oh my gosh, I didn't write down the name of the movie.
How dare you?
What was it? It was like The Destruction. It was something with a D. I don't remember what it was called.
That's the name of the movie. Something with a D.
Well, either way, I mean, it probably wasn't going to be that great, but whatever. The trailer was kick-ass, but it had
Jim Halpert did it.
Yeah, Jim Halpert and Agatha Harkness. So of course it was magic.
Yeah.
But it had Lindsay Lohan, which was in Parent Trap, which also is a Nancy Meyers.
It is. It's a Nancy Meyers film.
And James Franco, and that's because he was a friend of hers. And that's why he was in it.
Yeah.
So that's the trailer that keeps playing a couple times, that she worked on. Yeah, so the couples kind of hit it off. Well, Miles becomes more of a friend. He shows up at
Miles has a distance to him because he is monogamous and he has a girlfriend.
And he's very loyal.
He is.
But
and he does love her, but you can tell he loves the idea of her.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, because he says she's an actress, but he doesn't know why she's with him.
Yeah, and you should know why someone's with you.
Exactly.
I mean, I love you. I don't
know why I'm here. No.
I don't go, why is she with me? I think, well, she's got good taste because I am awesome, clearly.
Well, I still question your sanity, but that's not, that's neither here nor there.
But he is also doing that's what I'm getting across is he's doing exactly what Iris does, which is he has that secondary character syndrome where he's the main character in his own story, but he keeps acting like he's a supporting cast.
Or as we like to say, swimming in those sweet, sweet waters of denial.
True, and there be piranhas.
There be piranhas in that water. Yeah, so Jack shows up at Amanda's house where Iris is staying, and Iris is, because she's gotten to be pretty good friends with Arthur, they're having a Hanukkah dinner for him and his buddies.
Which are all industry people as well.
And so she invites Miles in, and they have a pretty nice little night, and hanging out and drinking Manischewitz. And
Miles is fitting it right in with them.
Oh, yes. And the three gentlemen leave. And, well, the one gentleman said, then they're asking Miles about his girlfriend because they were talking to Arthur about his wife and who's no longer with them. And, how much, everybody loved her and how great she was and that she had gumption.
Right.
Yes.
That comes back later.
And then they ask Miles about his girlfriend, and he's like, oh, well, she's in New Mexico filming right now. That's why she's not here, because they were like, well, why isn't she here? And you could tell that it hurts him that she's not there, but also he's trying to be the supportive boyfriend. But he's had a bit much Manischewitz. And when he is finally leaving, he gives Iris a kiss on the cheek 2 times, and the second one is a little lingery. And even
And he
he's like,
realizes that, yes.
I'm a little drunk. I shouldn't have done that. Did you know that usually, like when we watch our movies and we talk about them, and I throw my little factoids, I usually have 1,001 people who auditioned for the roles but didn't get it, and we're like, oh wow, how would that have been? This movie was written for those 4 main actors.
Oh wow!
It was written for Kate Winslet.
For anyone else.
Cameron Diaz. The reason why it was written for Cameron is because Nancy Meyers said she reminded her of Goldie Hawn, which I thought was funny.
That fits so well.
And Kate Winslet, her lines were written just for her.
You can tell they fit her so well.
Oh yeah, and Jude
her
Law,
style and Jude Law, the words they say fit them.
She wanted them there. And Jack Black, it's because she loved him in School of Rock.
Well, yeah.
And that's why he got that role. And Jack Black would later on go on to say that this was his best role. Again, I don't know if he still feels that way, but at that time he had said
it's
that.
okay. We feel that way.
But what is funny is when they were doing the auditions, to kind of like throw a little red herring, I guess, in there, they did have Robert Downey Jr. and Jimmy Fallon reading for those other roles, even though they were never intended to get those roles.
Oh, just to throw reporters off? Or whoever?
And Kate Winslet, Robert Downey Jr. was like making comments about how his British accent was probably atrocious, and Kate Winslet was like, yes, it was the worst. But it is funny that Robert Downey Jr. and then Jude Law would go on to do Sherlock, which I know people hate the Sherlock Holmes movies with them. I like them, but I like them because they're bad.
Oh, no,
but that's what I
bad.
like about them. No, they're not good because he is no Cumberbatch. He is no Blueberry Cumberbun. And we know my love for Blueberry Cumberbun, but I still love it.
It's penguins.
It's penguins. Pee-wee.
So, something I noticed about the film, and it's obviously written that way, but I think it's cool that it was a unsaid thing, is that during the course of the movie, you see they're two different relationships.
Oh, definitely. Hers is hot and wild.
Well, they both have a deepness to them. I don't think they're surface level. My thing is, these are 2 sets of people who have different temperaments. They have a lot of times you'll see movies like this and they all end up the same. Like they have the hot and heavy sex, also this couple hot and heavy sex, but they have different issues among them.
Yes.
These are 2 separate relationships who start out exactly at the pace the 2 people involved in that relationship are willing to go. For Miles and for Iris,
it's slow and steady.
It is slow and steady, and it's about sweetness and thoughtfulness and funny and caring and being friends first.
I agree. And I do feel like it does that again, going back to the narration in the beginning of the movie, that kind of sets the tone about the different types of love. And if you want to think, like, we don't know outside of that party and the things that were said about the relationship that Iris has with Jasper, but you have to be under the impression that it was a bit more hot and heavy because he seems to be more of the sexual type where she's looking for the romance.
Well, he wasn't looking for anything.
No,
other
but he
than
was
sex.
looking for, So for that, I would assume, being that he's that driving force, that's what that relationship would be.
Hold on. I've got a note on this. He is a twat. Yeah.
Yes.
That's my note
for
Jasper.
And I have Jasper is a piece of shit. We said this already.
Right.
But that relationship was that fast-paced, even though it was going nowhere. It wasn't even a relationship. It was a booty call. But conversely, with Amanda, there was no sex. There was nothing because she was so focused on her career that she didn't even have much of a relationship with Ethan. Not to say that what he did was right, but he just should have left her instead of cheating on her if it was so miserable. And then here she meets Graham and it is hot. It is like, boom, we're going to pick it up and we're going to just go. He has a lot in his life, she's got a lot in her life, but in this moment it doesn't matter. And so it's like almost polar opposites of what they just actually came from.
They went on these vacations and
Not looking for anything.
Right, but these people that they encountered, they got what they needed, what they were lacking in their normal lives. So I think that makes sense. They weren't looking to change their lives.
No.
They were just looking to step outside of it for a while. And in doing so, I think that's about that moment of when you're not looking for love is when you find it.
Yes, definitely.
It makes sense because it's always when you're not looking.
And even like the friendships. So Iris in the UK, you never see her with her brother. She only had that one woman that she talked to at work. And then she had the conversation with Rufus Sewell's character. And there's not much personability, I guess. Is that a word? She's not as personable with everybody else as she is when she's in LA. And she has so many people that she becomes friends with in LA, where Amanda...
She's insular, yes. She is fairly insular in her own life.
And she even lives in the middle of nowhere.
Right.
Where Amanda has people in her house. She's got all these people around her at all times. But when she's in the UK, the only person she interacts with is Graham.
Yeah, they get what they need out of these vacations.
They definitely get it. Yeah, it's definitely... I gotta stop saying definitely. I say that a lot.
So that's... I mean, I've got notes. I try not to take a lot of notes. But, that's what we were talking about, are the relationships. And Iris and Miles build their relationships slowly and more as a friendship, which towards the end becomes romantic.
Definitely.
And then Amanda and Graham, they build theirs. I think the sex is really just, it's a thing that happens.
Yeah.
But
they click.
They build on trust. Because sex is about trust. If you don't trust someone, you're not having sex with them. So you have to build that trust. And I think that Amanda and Graham, they're testing each other out. I think they've both been embattled.
Yeah.
And I think that for both of them, sex is how they find out about that other person's ability to trust.
So let's just focus on Amanda's story for a minute instead of going back and forth. So they go out on a date, her and Graham. Well, she was going to leave early. She was going to go back to LA because this wasn't working. And he's like, well, if you stay, I'll be at the pub having dinner. And she goes to the airport and then I guess later on decides no. And she ends up at the pub. And they do not have sex, but he does spend the night because she got drunk and passed out. And so, but during that time, he gets a phone call from Olivia. And he takes that call. And so, yeah, she is starting to get a little bit like, what's with all these names? I don't understand what's going on, but I really, really dig him. And I said I would stay, so I'm going to stay. Well, I guess that night or something, was it that night? She stops by his house and he's like a little awkward at the door, but a little girl comes to the door.
Adorable daughters.
That's Sophie and Olivia. So where she's thinking it's another woman, it's his daughters. And it turns out that he is a widower.
He spells that out.
Yes, he does spell it out so the girls don't, because she spells divorce and he spells widower. And those little girls are adorable. And the one is Sophie, who says that she looks like a Barbie doll. And they show her Mr. Napkin Head, which is so the little girls, they take her over to make the girls laugh, in their room, and they drink hot cocoa.
I love that tent. It is a fantastic tent. Who wouldn't want that tent?
It had stars that they cut out.
The entire room is basically in the tent.
It's so pretty. And, how could you not love those two little girls? They are just freaking adorable.
Oh, I know. And at that point, it's Amanda who is kind of internally freaking out. She is a single child family who split up. And when they split up, it was a surprise, like we said, because they had always called themselves
The Three
the Three
Musketeers.
Musketeers, right?
And so when she asks about the stars, and Olivia says, if they made it themselves, it was a comment that, and Daddy helped us, and she said, yeah, we're the Three Musketeers. And that also kind of struck Amanda. And it's the four of them lying on the floor, in this little tent, just looking up at the stars. And it's a very sweet moment.
Graham puts the back of his hand against her hand, and you think they're going to hold hands.
But he holds Sophie's hand.
He holds Sophie's hand, but he's got his hand against Amanda's hand.
Yeah.
And Amanda's not reacting to it because she is internally frozen.
Yes.
Because of the Three Musketeers and because there's this instant family that she's instantly afraid she doesn't know how to deal with.
Or she's going to get too attached, and then she knows she has to go back to LA.
That's what I'm saying. She doesn't know how to deal with it. She's used to being on her own.
Yes.
And she's used to having control. And that's how it manifests, is in her fastidiousness with her house. The way that she deals with men in her life by pushing them away.
Yep.
She has to have control because she did not have control as a child.
And she really, they both decide pretty much that they're going to just take it easy. And, it's complicated. She has a life, he has a life. It's complicated.
This is one of those things where they're saying something and then not doing something.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, if I think about how this movie made me feel when I first watched it years ago, definitely hopeful. Because I always like to refer to what I was going through when I first saw it and what was going on in my life. That's like me trying to explain to people why I've never actually watched the show Friends. When Friends came out, I was in a place in my life that I could not relate to those characters. I was a 20-something, but I was also a mom of children and a housewife, and their life was unrealistic to me. And I also have this weird secondhand embarrassment in sitcoms that I really have a hard time watching them because I get embarrassed for the characters. So I always like to think about, where was I at the moment when I saw something, and why did I feel that way? And in this situation, I was recently separated. I think I was separated by like 2 years from my ex. And I had the 3 children. And I my obsession with the UK was above and beyond. But that was a fantasy. That was definitely a hopeful fantasy that I can understand why the house swapping went off like a bang with that. I can see that happening because people wanted that fantasy. I wanted that fantasy. It gave me nice, warm, fuzzy feelings because nothing in this movie ends badly.
We go through things, and we go through traumas, and we go through heartbreak. And nobody wants to go through heartbreak thinking that they're going to always be in this. So, yeah, the fantasy of finding love, especially when you're not looking for it, when you're just looking to clear your head. Everybody fantasizes about meeting that one person who fixes your life in some way. What I like about Nancy Meyers' movie here is that no one's fixing anyone.
No.
Miles isn't fixing Iris.
Nope.
Iris isn't fixing Miles.
They're fixing
Graham
themselves.
and Amanda are not fixing each other.
No, because even when they finally do commit to an idea, they're still kind of broken. Their lives are still complicated. I think the only ones with simplistic lives would be Iris and Amanda.
Yeah, but I don't think. Yeah, I don't think that's the intent. Is to make you think that anyone's going to fix anyone, or that it's going to make your life uncomplicated. You can have a complicated life and still have love in that life.
Yes.
We have complicated lives.
Well, yeah.
You will always carry the trauma with you that you've endured throughout your life. You will always have heartbreak in your life in some form or another. But you get to share that.
Mm-hmm.
You get to share we all have that backpack we carry around, the luggage we carry around.
Backpack.
It's easier when you have someone there carrying it with you.
Yes.
Rather than you trying to hold it alone. Now, that's not the reason to have a relationship.
No.
But it is a nice perk of having a relationship.
Definitely helps.
Maybe one of these would have been great, except the Iris and Miles, which I really wanted Miles to find someone to. I kind of wanted Graham to find, so there had to be couples.
You want them to be happy. But again, they didn't go into it looking for love.
But there's a third set of relationships here. There's a third of this.
Oh, yes.
And that is the screenwriter.
Yes, Arthur.
Arthur, who is not, he's not finding love. What he found was a way to move on a little bit because he did really miss his wife.
Mm-hmm.
He'd already come to terms with her loss, but he was a hermit.
Yes.
He had squirreled himself away. He was using a walker, which there's nothing wrong with that.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a little bit of ableism here where we can fix you to where you can walk.
Yeah.
That doesn't always,
No.
That's not always the case. In this case, it happened to work.
Yeah.
But I think that the intent is in the story is telling you don't have to find someone. You just have to be open to change.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you can't avoid the change. And Iris wasn't going to take no.
No, and he was being honored by the Screen Actors Guild. They were going to honor him, and he kept refusing because he was afraid of walking up the steps to the stage.
Also, I think he'd just given up on people.
And I love so much because it goes back to where the town I grew up in, all of his Yiddish words he throws out, but it was almost too cliche.
Right.
That was like, there were times where I'm just like, oh, yeah. Because what do you say? I don't want to be surrounded by a bunch of putzes and then these like mensches and then I don't know. He just like makes a lot of just Yiddish
cliche.
Yeah,
cliche. A lot of cliched items.
Yeah.
There.
So it was a little off-putting after a while, but they were going for he's a Jewish man.
Something I noticed in the film is that when you change back and forth, it's not just a difference in the stories between the characters, but also like because of the setting of the place.
Mm-hmm.
Like you get the warm fuzzies of the cottage and the small town in England, and you get that kind of feeling without ever actually going into the town because you just don't see much of that.
Yeah.
But you get that warm feeling because you're in the cottage.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you transition over to Amanda's place with Iris,
yes,
it is stark. It is big and sunny and
very windy. That's like an ongoing theme is that wind just blows and blows and blows.
And it's like a contrast to the character who's there. So Amanda, who really does kind of own her space.
Yes.
When she goes over to the cottage, that cottage contrasts with her personality.
Yes.
But it's not uncomfortable. It's something she kind of has to adapt to.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of makes her settle down. She takes a bath.
Yes, I was literally thinking about the bath scene with her feet sticking out the side of the tub, which was funny.
I wouldn't take a bath. I take showers.
I don't like to stew in my own juices, thank
you.
But
I can see that being therapeutic in that cottage, in that space, in that headspace of that meaning something, making you feel good and homey and very comfortable.
Yes.
And for Amanda, who needed the change, it was good for her to get into that space of not having people around her,
mm-hmm.
not having demands on her.
Yes.
And trying to find that kind of like that mental space in her head where she doesn't feel panic attacks all the time.
Yes.
And Iris got to go to this big place where suddenly she's surrounded by people and she gets to really
build her confidence.
Yeah, she builds her confidence, but not just that. She builds on something she already has. She's a very personable, very thoughtful person.
She really
and there's
is.
people to do that with there.
Yes. People who want her to be a part of things.
Yeah, and not taking advantage of her.
Exactly.
She's actually stepping into their lives and making herself feel needed and appreciated.
Yes.
And they are, because Miles likes her. Miles likes hanging out with her.
Yes. So Arthur keeps giving her old movies to watch.
Right.
And they all have strong female leads and just strong story
With gumption.
themes. Yes, with gumption. And one time she says that, she was going to go to the Blockbuster. I was going to say the movie store. Yes, the Blockbuster video to go get to go rent some movies because again, 2006 and Blockbuster was still a thing. And Miles kind of wants to go with her because remember at this point Miles still thinks his girlfriend is in New Mexico and he's like, sure, let's hang out and be friends. So he's going through a bunch of movies and picking them out, and they're talking about the music because Miles is a composer. He writes movies, film
composer, yes.
And so his the setup that Miles has in the beginning of the movie was based on Hans Zimmerman's actual layout in his office.
Oh, okay.
And
that
he does the music for that movie. So what the other cameo is, they are going through the different movies, and he picks up The Graduate.
Yeah.
And Dustin Hoffman is in the book is in the Blockbuster, but the thing is Dustin Hoffman literally went to go rent a movie and saw the film crew, and then they were like, "Hey, you want to do this?" And he's like, "Yeah, sure."
And that's crazy to me because I haven't seen this film, and I purposely didn't look into everything. I did some really brief things, but I didn't see the trivias.
Yes.
I stayed away from stuff like that. I went into Nancy Meyers, but not into the film itself.
Yeah.
And for Dustin Hoffman to appear there when he picks up The Graduate, I felt like my jaw hit the floor. I was like, what the hell is going on? This is surreal.
But I think that was just kind of to needle forth the point that they're in LA and anything like that can happen.
Well, and it really does. I mean, it did to me. I watched Dom DeLuise, which most people probably don't know. I saw him walking down the street.
Oh my God.
And I was like,
I love Dom DeLuise.
I'm like, he had a cane. He was older when I saw him.
Yeah, he was not well at the end.
Yeah, he had a cane. He was walking well, but not fast. And he had a full beard, and he was wearing this hat and everything else. But it was definitely Dom DeLuise. And people were like turning to look at him as he walked, and I was like, holy crap, that's Dom DeLuise. And I'm one of those people that will not approach. I will not approach people who are actors and stuff. I can appreciate their films.
Yeah, because it's, that's their private life.
But it's their, they already get enough of that. I'm going to honor them by not bothering them.
Oh, yeah.
And sure, they may love it, but I also think that is my thing. My way of honoring them is to not approach them unless they look at me like, are you going to approach me or not?
Or if you're in a situation where that's what they're there for, like at a convention or something, that's a different situation.
That's a different situation entirely. They're there to be approached.
But just walking on the street, living their life, they deserve the privacy and to be let alone just like everybody else.
Well, yeah, like Adam Baldwin. I saw him in an airport. I did not approach him. I'm just like, it's one of the Baldwin brothers. That's kind of cool. He's super huge.
I got to meet Brooke Shields. I went to go see a taping of a TV show that she was doing an interview for a movie called Brenda Starr. Did not see it, but I knew she did it. And she got in the elevator with us. And it was just her and me and the guys that I had come with. And, oh my God, she was so tall.
She's statuesque.
And so beautiful. And I felt so because I didn't know what to think. I mean, I'm in an elevator with freaking Brooke Shields. But yeah, that was my big fame.
I really enjoyed that TV show she did.
Which one?
It's the one she was the lead in. I can't remember the name of it.
Oh, is it the one with
I think it only lasted like a season, but it was really good, and I don't think anybody gave it really a chance.
I was thinking of a different show. The one with Molly Ringwald, not with
yeah,
Brooke Shields.
She was the lead. I forget exactly the premise of it. I think she was a writer. Could have been a magazine.
People are going to listen to our podcast.
I know they're going to go, why did you even bring this up?
No. They're going to be like, this is the podcast where they do a lot of research, but they don't know anything. You know that thing? Oh, I don't remember what it's called.
Yes, in this movie with Cameron Diaz, I did not look up Brooke Shields.
No,
You're right.
Funny. But, yeah. So, again, so when they're at the Blockbuster video, that's when Jack Black sees his girlfriend walking down the sidewalk with...
And what's that character's name?
Maggie.
Maggie. Okay.
Maggie walking down the sidewalk with another guy.
Right.
And he confronts them, and he's heartbroken. And I believe at that point he comes back to Iris's just to watch movies and to have, okay, I really need you guys to please email and let us know, is Christmas fettuccine a thing?
Yeah, that doesn't seem real.
Because they mentioned Christmas fettuccine.
Christmas ziti is one thing.
Yeah, but that's our family. But that doesn't mean that that's a thing.
That's not our family.
It is?
Thing.
Okay.
There are people, we had it at my work.
Okay.
They did Christmas ziti.
Okay, well, we always did ziti growing up, but I
don't
know
think
that was...
there's a Christmas fettuccine.
I mean,
think that's a play off of Christmas ziti.
We do Christmas chili now. That's our new tradition, and that's
It is awesome. It is a fantastic festive chili.
And it is so easy, and you don't have to do much work.
It's the candy canes I like.
Oh, you stir it with the candy cane.
No, there's cinnamon in it.
Yes, I put cinnamon in my chili.
It is so good. It is such good chili.
It's not like a cinnamony chili. It just
it just has
a hint. You really wouldn't know it was there unless you knew.
It went
now
really
y'all
well.
know. Don't eat my chili.
Well.
No.
The deal is, Miles didn't seem... He was upset.
He was upset.
He wasn't heartbroken. And it's not because he wasn't acting. It's because he truly... I don't think Miles was as attached as he thought he was.
No, I think he was already in his... Whether it was conscious or not, starting to fall for Iris. So Maggie's betrayal was more like, I'm hurt, but also, I'm done.
I think he knew before that.
Because she said that she had actually finished wrapping up her filming 2 days after getting there, and that all that time she had been back and staying with this other guy. And he was upset that he actually mailed her Christmas present to New Mexico. So I think that's what it was for him, was just the lack of communication.
I think
really
he was
upset
upset
him.
that he was lied to.
Yeah.
But I don't think that he was so upset because they weren't clicking. They were just not right for each other.
No.
And Miles needed someone. He needed an Iris.
He really
in his
did.
life.
He needed that calm and collective and somebody who's going to encourage him. And there's that one scene where he's playing music because they make a theme for Arthur for his, because he does decide to go get that award. And he's playing the song for her. And he says he has a theme song for Iris. And then they just start scatting, and it's funny. And they're just definitely like clicking at that moment, you know?
Right.
It's definitely, that's where you see the chemistry between the two of them, really. Because they're just being silly and fun and kind of adoring. Iris is, at one point, she is at dinner, or she goes on a date with Miles. They go out to get sushi. And while there, Maggie calls. And you don't really know what she's asking of him, but he says he could be there in 30 minutes.
Well, he does say that she misses him.
He does tell her that when he gets off the phone. But you can hear him like kind of waffling and, you know, he's busy right now, but yeah, he can be there in 30 minutes. And he says to Iris, well, I have to go see Maggie. And she's like, go. It's okay. I'm good. And she kind of forces him out the door of the restaurant, and she goes, you know, you could tell she's upset about this, that she thinks he's gone back to Maggie. I mean, she reminds him that you have to be at the awards for Arthur and to not be late. And he says, I don't know, but I'm really going to try.
Right.
So when she goes back to Amanda's house, she's just really bummed, and she gets a phone call from the piece of shit twat.
Oh, I hate him so much.
he's like, did you get the package? And she's looking all over for it. And she's like, well, maybe it's on the front door. And she opens the door and there he is.
The twat.
He's
doing a
standing
twat
there.
thing on the phone like a twat.
And he tells her how much he misses her and how much, he really just misses her. But basically, he just wants to hook
I
up.
really wanted her to kick him in the balls.
Oh,
there.
my God. And they start to really, she feels like maybe he really does care. But you could tell there was some hesitance in her that she didn't have before. Like when he came to see her in her office, she was very like immediately open. Where now this time she's a bit reserved, but she doesn't bring up the wedding even really then. It's not until they're laying on the couch together talking, and he's like, we should go to Greece or something like that. And she's like, can you get away? And then he didn't answer her. And then she's like, wait a minute, are you still getting married? And he still doesn't answer. And she's like, okay, well, I'm going to take that as a yes. And that's basically when she was like, I'm done. He wanted
the same thing he had before. He wanted to be able to go to her when he wanted her.
Yep.
And then he wanted to put her on a shelf or in a box until he wanted her again. And he was going to do that also with his, quote, wife, end quote.
And as somebody who has been married to someone who liked to put you on a shelf until they were ready to deal with you, that's not fun. That's not fun. And, she does lay into him. And that's really quite awesome that she's able to just like, you know what? I've been here long enough that this was the final thing. And I honestly have no feelings for you anymore. I might care, but I'm not in love.
That much.
Yeah. So you need to get the fuck out. I got somewhere to be in a while. So she gets all dressed up after kicking him out.
Well, she pushes him out of the door.
And goes and
she closes the door, and it's windy.
Uh-huh.
So Santa Ana wins.
Woohoo! Blows his butt away.
She closes the door, and then she does a little primal scream there for herself.
Oh, yes.
Not a happy one, not an upset one. She's actually excited that she found her strength. And when she closes the door, he goes, what has gotten into you, or something like that, to that effect.
Yeah.
And she says, I don't know, I think it's something like gumption. And she closes the door.
Yes.
That was an excellent callback.
Yes. And so then she goes and gets dressed, and she goes to Arthur's house and meets him, and he says that he has something for her, and he puts a corsage on her because when you go on a date with somebody, you always buy them a corsage. And so she has a corsage, and it's adorable, and they go to the award ceremony.
Right.
And she's walking him down the aisle, and then a gentleman, one of the ushers, comes and takes his hand, and she goes into her place, and everyone is there that he knows, and he's just so...
Not just that he knows. See, he thought when he was going to go there was going to be like 12 people.
Yes.
And most of them people he knows in the audience, and that's about it.
Yes, but there was a whole...
It was packed.
Yeah.
The whole place was packed to the rafters, and not just his friends, but everyone is there.
Yes. And he gets a little nervous at the stairs, but then his theme music plays.
Yeah, Miles is playing
Miles
his
is
theme
there,
music.
and Miles came. He was there on time. And he goes up those stairs, and Miles, Iris...
He runs down to the seats to be next to
Iris. And she asks him, and he said, yeah, she wanted me to come back, but yeah, no. Mm-mm. I don't want Maggie.
He chose wisely.
And is that when they kissed? Yeah, they kissed then, right? He gives her a kiss? The first time he gives her a kiss?
Yeah, I think that's the first actual kiss on the lips.
Yes, because he says, she's like, something about going back to England. He's like, I've never been to England. So you get the impression he's going to go.
Well, he says...
Yeah.
He says, will you
go
out with me for New Year's?
Yes.
And she says, I'm going back to England. He goes, I've never been to England. If I go, will you go out with me?
And so that's what's happening.
And that's where you see that the romance, the friendship has become more.
Yes.
And it's important to note, this is not out of desperation.
No.
Miles is not desperate for love. He's actually fairly casual about the breakup.
Yeah.
He didn't even cry.
No. I think, and that's a big thing. And they're not like settling either. They're definitely...
No, they
enjoy
like
each other. Yeah.
They like each other. They chose each other. That is, I think, one of the best romances you can have is when you choose that person because they're the whole package: a friend, a lover, a romantic partner, and a partner, someone who's your equal. You know, you don't look at it as this power play like Iris has had a power play this whole time.
Oh, yeah, because it's been Jasper.
Rufus. Rufus is fine. I don't know
Rufus is
Rufus.
fine.
I'm sure he is a fine
He looks
human
good
being.
in a kilt. If you ever see Rufus Sewell in a kilt, he looks nice in a kilt.
I'm sure he's a fine human being, but his character is a twat.
His character is a twat. And then you go back to Amanda, and you see that they kind of like are just dealing with not being together with her and Graham. And she gets ready to leave, and he comes to say goodbye to her. Oh, well, they have one more night together. And he's kind of trying to convince her to stay. And he tells
Without
her...
trying to be
He doesn't tell her to
demanding,
stay. But he
yes.
does say that he's fallen in love with her, which is refreshing for him because he didn't think he could do that again. Because he had a whole string of one-night stands, and he didn't think he could fall in love with somebody after his wife.
And as anyone who has ever taken that step and declared, I love you, you know the pain of them not saying it back to you.
Oh, yeah.
That kills you inside because you're taking a very huge leap.
Oh, yeah.
With that first I love you. And at that point, he's not able to stop saying I love you. He said it so many times.
Oh my God, it was
in
almost
a
losing
row
meaning.
because he's trying to... I think he's trying to make it make sense to him.
Oh, yeah, because even he's like, I don't understand it either because they've only known each other a couple weeks.
And he's got his feelings still wrapped up in his kids.
Yeah, and he only lost his wife 2 years ago.
And he's worried about loving someone who's going to be leaving and leaving him here heartbroken with his children.
Yes.
There's a lot there. There's a lot that he's risking by saying, I love you. He could have not said it at all.
Oh, yeah.
She could have left, and he would have been still just as hurt. But it would have been unsaid, and then she would have left and never thought about it.
She tries to explain the pitfalls of them having a long-distance relationship, but even her logicking the whole thing doesn't really work, and they end up, just spending the night together, and then she packs up and she gets into her limo, that bastard who couldn't come up there the first time.
The same bloody driver.
And he's like, how was your vacation? And she's like, well, it's what I needed. And then she's in the car, and they're going down that cottage road heading towards where the cemetery is, and she starts to cry.
She starts to have a panic attack.
And then she starts crying.
Right.
And she hasn't had one the whole entire time she was in England.
No, not once.
Not once. And she makes the limo driver stop. And then she's like, you got to turn around. He can turn around. And he starts to go up, and she's like, can you go faster? And he's like, I can't. And so she gets out, and she's running. She's running in heels. And she stops at one point to catch her breath because we all can relate. It is a long run. And she cuts through a field, leaving the gates open. There's
cows
a cow.
Are going to get out.
The cows are going to get out. And she runs into the cottage, and he's in the cottage, and she sees him. He comes around the corner, and he's been crying.
I know, which is adorable. Jude Law crying is not something I can get over.
And he even says, he's like, I cry for everything, movies and commercials and, you name it, and I'm crying. And so they end up, hugging and kissing and da-da-da-da-da. And then it basically comes to the very end, and it's them at Graham's house for New Year's Eve. And it's
with the girls
and Miles and Iris. And the 6 of them have a little dance party, private little New Year's Eve soiree, get to know each other. And you assume that they kind of live happily ever after. You want to believe that they all live happily ever after. Because in all reality, Miles can do his job anywhere. Because he's just a composer. Not saying just, but he can compose anywhere. He can get his equipment.
For the most part, yes. I mean,
and I'm pretty
there are things you can't do just in your studio, but sure, yeah.
But if they make the money that they're supposedly making, then they should not have a problem with having to take a trip to LA every once in a while.
Right.
And I think that even Amanda can probably relocate her company to England as well.
I would imagine so.
I would, because it's friggin' England and it's not the U.S. It's definitely not L.A. And I would take England over L.A. any day of the week.
Pluses and minuses.
I would take not Surrey over not L.A. any day of the week.
So
there's snow.
One of the things I'd like to mention is the music in this.
That was my next thing I have.
Okay. Well, you have it written down. I don't. I
wrote down like 4 songs that I thought were pretty interesting choices, but
it really set those moods and those moments.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I was noticing the music and going,
that's a good song.
How much money did they spend on this? Because they are pulling out some bangers from that time.
Oh yeah.
And
classics too.
But they weren't just playing them
as background noise. No, they were actively participating in the songs, like dancing to them and everything.
Yeah, but it wasn't just there because they wanted new music in there.
No.
They evoked an emotion. They evoked a mood. They were set very well. I thought that was very well done for a rom-com.
So I will go with, okay, so we got Mr. Brightside by the Killers. That was Amanda. She played that when she got to the cottage. Yes.
She was playing it in the cottage and she was singing it like you sing
when you're by yourself.
When you're by yourself and you're not trying to perform, you're trying to get out emotion.
Oh yeah.
And that's her singing. I think that's just Cameron Diaz singing.
Yeah.
But that's her singing her emotions out of her body. Yes.
And then when the first morning that Iris wakes up in LA, she puts on music and it's Are You Gonna Be My Girl by Jet.
Right.
And that's just another perfect moment. And she's just enjoying the morning.
Right before the call.
The call from Rufus. From Jasper.
Rufus is a fine gentleman, I'm sure.
It's Jasper.
Jasper's a twat.
Another one, this one was a mood, and that's Let Go by Frou Frou, my personal favorite, Imogen Heap. Let Go is a great song.
Oh,
it's
it is.
A beautiful song.
And it evokes a lot of emotion.
Oh, yeah. And I just threw this one in here because, there's, like I said, a lot of older songs, a lot of Christmas songs, but Kylie Minogue's Santa Baby.
Yes.
Specifically, Kylie Minogue's Santa Baby.
And I think it sets a tone as well.
It was playing when she meets the girls the first time.
It sets a tone
Yeah.
for the moment, for that scene. It's right there, and it lets you know that this is going to be something that is going to be awkward, but it's going to ultimately be endearing.
Now, I don't know if it was happening I don't think it was happening during the movie. I think it was something prior to the movie.
I know that you lost.
I didn't, because I didn't actually hear the song. When did it play?
It played, I don't know when it played, but it's in there.
So, yeah. I
think it's in the background that you just don't really notice it.
We play Whamageddon every year. And if you don't know Whamageddon starts on December 1st, ends December 31st, and what it is, or Christmas Day is when it ends.
Right.
And then it is, you can't actively avoid really 100%, like don't go not listening to Christmas music, but you cannot listen to Last Christmas by Wham. It can be any other version of Last Christmas, but if you hear the version by Wham, you've lost. And normally, I'm the first one to lose almost every year.
Because you listen
to a lot of Christmas music.
1,000% more music than I do.
But
I usually win, and this year I was the second one of us in the household.
Yes. And I have not lost yet. I have not listened to as much Christmas music this year.
We're going to say you didn't lose because you didn't actually notice
hear it. But it said that when I was looking at the soundtrack, because we would notice some of the other songs, that was the first song listed was Wham's Last Christmas. And I don't remember hearing it. And I was actually actively listening for it in the movie, but I don't remember when it would have played.
I'm going to say that if you are into soundtracks,
it's good soundtrack.
This is a good soundtrack to get. And not because it is great music, and not because you would really enjoy the set, but because it is such a strange amalgamation of music.
It really is.
That I can't believe this hasn't been something that people have said, you should just listen to the soundtrack for the holiday, because It is the strangest mix of music.
It really
You're not
really
going to get
is.
it without context to the movie. Mm-hmm. But it fits together in this weird ass way. I'm going to download the soundtrack.
It's good. It's good. And
Just
I already
because
have
it's
half
got
these
older
songs
music
anyway,
in it.
but yeah.
And it's got older music in it, and I want to listen to it as they have it listed, just to see how it works out. It's such a strange amalgamation of music.
It really is. Sorry, I was making sure I actually covered every one of my notes this time. Sometimes I have leftover notes that I don't get to touch, and I've got all my notes.
Got any? Oh, the email that Iris writes back to Graham.
Yes.
Not to Graham. That's her brother. To not Rufus.
Jasper.
To Jasper the twat. When he says, I need you to, help me with my story and stuff like that.
Uh-huh.
She writes, we both know I need to fall out of love with you.
And that's a very good statement.
It really is. There was more to it, but that line is when she decides to go to America.
Oh, yeah. And she does. She realizes that she needs to make that break.
I think that's just a very insightful thing to say. If you have the presence of mind to say, that I know I need to fall out of love with you, that it's not good for you, and you know that this is something that needs to be done, that's so insightful. That's self-awareness that I think people just need to be able to attain.
Oh, yeah. And then the other person needs to respect that. And he does not.
Didn't. And we know people like that don't respect the boundaries that you set because that they're bad for you, but all they care about are their needs. And Jasper's a twat for that.
Oh, because it's all about Jasper.
So you can find The Holiday on Prime Video. With commercials, it's free. Or you can rent it for $3.99. You can find it on NBC, USA Now, and Telemundo Now.
Telemundo.
Those apps, you can find The Holiday.
I didn't know Telemundo had an app, but
I
mine
didn't
not.
either. I was very surprised, but also pleasantly surprised. I used to watch Telemundo in California.
Ah.
So, and I don't know Spanish, so that made it very interesting for me.
Okay, so really quick, the one thing we didn't touch is how does the movie make you feel, though?
Oh, yeah, that's a good idea. Oh, I have another note.
Okay.
James Taylor, Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas.
Oh, yes.
Probably one of my favorite Christmas songs. And I love James Taylor. Just love his voice. I don't know about him as a person because I have issues with him being so vain. That's me being funny. I love his voice. I love his music. And I definitely love the Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas. One of my favorite songs for Christmas time. Aside from that, this movie oddly made me feel, maybe not so oddly, made me feel hopeful.
It is a hopeful movie.
It made me feel, if I'd seen this back then, would have been a great movie for me. But it would have been very sad.
Yeah.
Because I was without you then. You weren't in my life directly. We weren't together.
Yes.
And that's always going to be a theme for me. Because when we look back at something that's like lost time.
Yeah.
And it would have been sad.
Yeah.
But hopeful. You can be sad and be hopeful at the same time. And I think those things don't conflict. I think they lend themselves to hope. Sadness leads to hope.
Yes.
And that's what these characters do in the movie. They are sad, and then they find hope. And once they find hope, they get the encouragement to move past that sadness.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that Nancy Meyers really throws into this movie, is that people are going to be dicks. People are going to be twats. People are the worst if you're not compatible with that person. You need to move on to the other compatible people. There are plenty of other people out there. Change your dynamic.
And also understand that there is different types of love. And the way love treats you and the way you treat it is definitely going to be different from circumstance to circumstance. And like I said, that even if you don't watch the movie, just listen like go and read that narration in the beginning from that Kate Winslet, her little monologue speech, because that is, it really just pulls the dynamic of love. I feel it just explains it, and it's just beautifully done. Again, I agree with you. It does give you hope. And I really, other than the daydream fantasy of it all, I feel like it has definitely stayed the same for me.
I've got it.
It's
wanna read it?
long. I can read it. It's just very long.
You have a better voice than I do.
Oh, now I gotta take off my glasses.
To read?
To read. It's yes, I have to take off my
I
glasses.
know I always make fun of you for that.
Okay. I found almost everything ever written about love to be true. Shakespeare said, "Journeys end in lovers' meeting." What an extraordinary thought. Personally, I've not experienced anything remotely close to that, but I'm more than willing to believe Shakespeare had. I suppose I think about love more than anyone really should. I am constantly amazed by its sheer power to alter and define our lives. It was Shakespeare who said love is blind. Now that is something I know to be true. For some, quite inexplicably, love fades. For others, love is simply lost. But then, of course, love can also be found, just if even for a night. Then there's another kind of love, the cruelest kind, the one that almost kills its victims. It's called unrequited love. Of that, I am an expert. Most love stories are about people who fall in love with each other. But what about the rest of us? What about our stories? Those of us who fall in love alone. We are the victims of the one-sided affair. We are the cursed of the loved ones. We are the unloved ones, the walking wounded, the handicapped without the advantage of a great parking space.
Nice.
It goes on, but it's more about her talking about her party.
Well, I think that sums it up.
Yeah. There's another one, but it's not as poignant as that. That I feel like is good too. It talks about trying to not take up space.
I don't know what it is about movies that are quasi-based in England, but they have the best monologues.
They really do.
Although, While You Were Sleeping's pretty damn good.
I mean, if you ever get a chance, listen to the love soliloquy that Alan Rickman reads from Dark Harbor. I think it's in Dark Harbor. Holy crap. It's maybe like 5 or 6 lines, but it is deep.
Yeah.
Love it. But Dark Harbor is one of my favorites because I love Alan Rickman.
Might be something we need to watch.
So we can make all of the Daryl Dixon fans out there from The Walking Dead be all like homophobic. Sure, we'll do it. We'll do it. Because anything with a gay kiss in it makes me happy, especially when Alan's involved. That's a good movie. Damn it, now we got to watch that one.
I'm not upset about it.
I will add it to the list.
So, that was the holiday.
The holiday for Christmas, y'all.
We want to wish you a very happy holiday. I know there are many holidays.
Mm-hmm.
I celebrate the winter solstice.
Yule for me.
And many people have Christmas, or they have Yule, or they have Hanukkah.
Mm-hmm. Depending on the time of the year, Diwali also falls sometimes at this time of year, sometimes not. Sometimes Ramadan. So Kwanzaa, whatever you, even if you don't worship or believe in anything, and you just like to have presents and family and whatever, or just hiding in a corner.
The days are getting shorter, the nights are getting longer, and
watch a movie.
That means you have time to snuggle up, maybe find a nice couch position, watch a movie, spend time with people you love,
or by yourself. That's okay too.
Get a good book.
Mm-hmm.
Start a fire, not in your house, maybe in the fireplace.
Yep. Get some tunes.
And try to enjoy that time for yourself, because this is all an emotional journey.
Yep.
We are all just trying to find our way. And we never really get to a destination, but it's all about the journey.
And seasonal depression is real, so self-care is important.
So we want to thank you for sharing this journey with us. Following the holiday, my first watch and Michelle's multi-watch of it. This has been Once More with Feelings with Beth and Michelle. You can find us wherever you listen to podcasts. Be sure to follow us on Instagram and Blue Sky at OMWFpod, or visit our page at oncemorewithfeelings.podbean.com, or send us an email at omwfpod@gmail.com. Take a moment to subscribe and rate us on iTunes. We really appreciate that.
So until next time, enjoy the holiday.
Iris, in the movies we have leading ladies and we have the best friend. You, I can tell, are a leading lady, but for some reason you're behaving like the best friend.
You're so right. You're supposed to be the leading lady of your own life, for God's sake. Arthur, I've been going to a therapist for 3 years, and she's never explained anything to me that well.
I realized as I was editing this that we did not do the Castellini test. It is 7 in the morning, and I don't want to wake Michelle. So the Castellini test has 3 tenets to it. There have to be at least 2 named women characters with at least 5 lines of dialogue each. Both Iris and Amanda have way more than 5 lines of dialogue, so I think that passes. Number 2, those characters must have a conversation, not necessarily with the other woman, either not about their partner or with their partner, future or current, and not about their relationship. Both women are talking about people who are not their partners and with people who are not their partners during this movie, and they have extensive conversations. So that is also a pass. Number 3, at least one of the women has to be integral to the plot, meaning that if she were written out of the film, it couldn't reach the same ending. And we have 2 women that are integral to the plot, and if they were written out of the film, could not reach the same ending. This is a pass. Good on you, Nancy Meyers.